The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning. Welcome to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM. You can also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago, youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. I'm Father Greg Sakowitz, the rector of Holy Name Cathedral in Chicago. And with me, co-host Mark Teresi, who is running our 175th, 150th anniversaries at the cathedral, plus many, many other hats that Mark wears. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing better.
Good.
The pneumonia was a tough hit, but doing better right now. And thanks for all the prayers and love and support and cards and a lot of candy. A lot of candy from people that really cheered me up, but I'm doing better now. And so again, it's great. It's great to be back here on Catholic Chicago. We have a wonderful program lined up this morning. Father Richard Fragomeni is a priest of the Diocese of Albany, New York, and has been a member of the CTU faculty since 1990. His teaching involves him in Roman Catholic theology, interpretation, theory, and poetry. His current work is in this field of word and sacrament, the intersection of symbolic activity and language as it creates insights into the Christian proclamation of grace. Central to this work is a fascination with the power of liturgy and preaching in the transformation of the human heart. Father Fragomeni is adjunct faculty member in the Department of Religious Studies at DePaul University. He also serves as the rector of the Shrine of Our Lady of Pompeii, an Italian-American spiritual center in Chicago's historic Little Italy. In addition to his teaching duties, he is a preacher of parish missions and gives presentations nationally and internationally on liturgical, sacramental, and catechetical topics. Wow. I think we're ready for a break, Mark, after that introduction. Joining us for the full hour today to talk about a variety of topics is Father Richard Fragomeni. Richard, good morning.
Hello.
And welcome to the program. So great to have you back.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Virtually, I'm hoping one of these times I'll be there face to face.
Oh, that would
But
be
I'm
great.
delighted to be here through this new wonderful technology that we have, this
think it's-
Zoom room.
It's amazing your background. What do you do in your free time?
I read, I play the piano, I pray, and I take walks, and I listen to good music.
That is wonderful. Now, you were ordained for the Diocese of Albany, New York. What year
Yes,
ordained, Richard?
What's that?
What year were you ordained a priest?
I was ordained a priest in 1975. So next year
50.
will be 50 years. Bishop Cardinal Supish and I were ordained actually a day apart. I was ordained on the 15th of August, the Assumption Day, and he was ordained on the 16th of August, both on the same day. Both in the same year,
Yeah.
1975. So we both celebrate our golden jubilees next year.
That's amazing.
So then you also have to be about the same age.
I think so, yes.
That is amazing, because the thing is, I'll be ordained on May 9th this year, 45 years. So you're coming up
Right.
then on 46 years. Let me take it back, 49 years come August. That is amazing. Gosh, Richard, I thought you were ordained maybe like 35 years. You look so young, and I'm not joking. You really do. It's amazing. We have
Well,
a full.
it's the Italian genes, Mark.
No wrinkles. No wrinkles.
That is
Italian
true.
genes.
But then
But
what?
I have to say, the cardinal was ordained on the feast of Saint Rocco. Actually,
Oh.
the 16th of August
Yes,
Our
is the feast
anniversary.
of Saint Rocco for the Italian community.
and that is
So-
Mark and Mary's wedding anniversary,
43
August
years this year.
16th.
Is that right?
Yeah, and here, this is a little aside, but Mary, my wife, was born 2 months prematurely, and she was born on April 25th, the feast of
Oh,
Saint
wow.
Mark.
Well,
Wow.
on Mark's Day. So
There it is.
we have a
And Saint
tremendous.
Mark, isn't that wonderful?
It is.
I like the synchronicities are wonderful, the connections of how these happen.
Exactly.
Well, I always say this when someone says, "Oh, what a coincidence!" What Mark just mentioned, and I say a coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. That
There you
is
go.
a coincidence. So, Mark, lead off with the first question. We have a full hour of a lot of discussion.
People might be interested, before we get into the Easter season, Richard, how did you get here to Chicago from New York?
I was I finished my doctorate right around the same time that the cardinal did, and I was going back to Albany, and you'll like this, Greg, Father Greg. I was going back to Albany because I was being schooled to be the rector of the cathedral in Albany. Because of they wanted me to start a liturgical school, a music high school, like a choir school, like they have in Boston. And so I finished the dissertation and I graduated, and I was heading back to Albany, and then I heard from my bishop in Albany who said, there's a lot of details that you probably will not be able to do what we had planned you to do in the cathedral, and so you can come back to Albany. You can be my theologian, the bishop said, and help out this way. Well, in the meantime, the bishop of Albany got a call from Don Sr., Father Don Sr. here at CTU, who had heard that I had graduated, and they needed a professor of liturgy and preaching because the woman who had been one of their professors went down to Notre Dame as a vice provost. So the bishop called me in. He says, "Good news. I can't give you the cathedral right now, but Chicago wants you. Would you like to go?" And I said, I would, but you have authority over me, I said to him. You can ask me to stay and I'll stay. And he looked at me, Howard Hubbard was his name. He looked at me and he said, "Thank you for giving me that much authority over you." But he did. He said, "Thank you for giving me that much authority." He said, "But your gifts would not be used well here as well as they would be used in Chicago." So he said, "Go there for a few years, see if they like you, see if you like the teaching, and then we can negotiate if you don't." So I've been here now 34 years. I'll be here in September.
And what's kept you here?
I love Catholic Theological Union. I love the teaching. I love the students. I've been there now almost 34 years, as I said. I have students that I taught to preside at Eucharist and to preach that are now 34 years of graduates, of ordained priests all over the world. And I love the opportunity to make a small impact for the betterment, I hope, of our church and of our world through that. So what has kept me here was certainly teaching at the school. And then Father Jack Wall had been just named the rector of the Shrine of Our Lady of Pompeii. And he's Irish, as you all know. And I spoke at his church at Old St. Pat's, and he kept pursuing me to take and to be at least a guest presider at the Shrine of Our Lady of Pompeii. I kept saying no. Probably for 8 or 9 times I said no. And then he kept it persisting, and I worked with my spiritual director at the time and said, "Do you think that the persistence is the voice of God knocking?"
That is fascinating. That is fascinating. So then really, when you became the rector of the shrine with additional duties at CTU, still teaching, so you just actually took on an additional hat.
I did, but then I could meld the two together.
Exactly.
I could actually bring the preaching students to learn how to preach in the building, because Catholic Theological Union, we have a small chapel, but we don't have a church which gives them the sense of a building to preach in or to preside in. So I use the church building, the shrine building, as a center for educating future presiders and preachers, which is a nice blend.
What is amazing. A little sidebar question, Richard, and that is the fact that you've been at CTU all these years, and this is totally off topic, what changes have you seen in the young men studying for the priesthood over the last 35 years?
the religious orders, because at CTU we serve the religious orders, Franciscans, the Servites, the Capuchins, the Augustinians, the Viatorians, the Vincentians. So we are mostly a religious order seminary. And I've noticed a couple things. First, the number has gone down. When I first came here in Chicago in 1990, we had 400 or 500 seminarians. I mean, we had a lot of seminarians.
Wow.
From all over the world and the United States. And so the numbers have gone down. And what else I've noticed is the religious orders, their vocations are no longer coming primarily from the United States, but are coming from other parts of the world. For instance, the Capuchins, that the vocations now are coming from India, for instance, and parts of Central and South America. And there's perhaps only one seminarian coming from the United States. So I'm noticing that the vocations are coming from different places, and the vocations in the United States to religious orders are not as plenteous as they were way back in 1990. Other than that, the religious order, the fervor, the desire to be missioners, the desire to serve the church, that's still very strong and quite edifying for me as I am moving to the grave, to see that these young ones are still wanting to preach well, preside well, and make a difference in the religious imagination of those who.
Well, the same thing would hold in the Archdiocese, and that is my class ordained 1979 at Mundelein Seminary. We ordained 31 men for the Archdiocese of Chicago in 1979. And we're ordaining later this month in May 3 for the Archdiocese of Chicago. No, 4, take it back. 4 for the Archdiocese of Chicago. And fine young men. But just as you're saying, the fervor is there, the dedication is there, the prayer is there, the commitment is there, but the numbers have gone down. On that cheerful note, Mark, take us to break.
Yes, thank you for that cheerful. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're with Father Richard Fragomeni. When we come back, I'd like to address to him the Easter season. I remember vividly at Our Lady of Pompeii, a liturgy where you talked about the Easter season. This is not just an Easter celebration. We have 50 days of celebration. So we'll come back and hear Father Fragomeni's take on that. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
I feel special. I feel great. I got good grades.
We've seen a huge surge in our kids now meeting or exceeding grade level. Come check us out. You may have never thought we were an option before.
Our school communities provide students with academic excellence and character education in a supportive and stable learning environment. Come see for yourself. Visit archchicago.org/findaschool.
Did you know that Catholic Charities accepts car donations? If you're ready to free up space in your garage and put a stop to all those expenses that go along with owning a car, we will gratefully accept your donation, whether the car is running or not. You choose a pickup time that is convenient for you, and we will make the donation as easy as possible free of charge. You'll receive a charitable donation receipt as well. We accept all types of vehicles nationwide, and you will know that your donation is made to Catholic Charities, an agency you can trust. To learn more about donating your car, call 877-786-5000 877-786-4483. That's 877-786-4483. Thank you.
We're back, WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago with Father Richard Fragomeni, priest of the Diocese of Albany, New York, who's been a great gift to the Archdiocese of Chicago for
34 years.
34 years. Catholic Theological Union, Our Lady of Pompeii. And on a personal note, so I want to talk about the Easter season. And I remember vividly at the Easter Vigil, Richard invited me to do music, and our son Marty came. And one year, you were talking to us about the Easter season, toward the end of the liturgy. It's so vivid to me. And you had written a book with an accompanying CD about the Easter season. And to my surprise, he showed it to us, and in the bottom corner of the front page, inside cover, he dedicated it to our Marty.
Huh.
No, and to you too.
Oh, and to me too. Oh, I
To
forgot
both
about
of you.
Wow.
Well, and the idea for me was in that Easter Vigil celebration, and Richard does this so well as celebrant. With the music, with the prayer, you join heaven and earth together. That's his style, but that's how he embodies the liturgy. And Marty, he involved Marty. Marty's 8 years old, and he's doing the gong during the Gloria. He sang the chant years later on the steps. So anyway, Richard, it was just a great, great memory. He imitated you.
Wonderful.
Evening.
That's a great story.
But you talked about the Easter season, and it kind of cracked it open for me. Wait a minute, we're not just celebrating Easter, we're celebrating a season. Could you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, let me give a shout out first to Todd Williamson, because on a recent piece that I saw online that he did a very nice job on the Easter season and the 50 days. So Todd Williamson, the director of liturgy for the Archdiocese, was a graduate, actually was a student of ours at Catholic Theological Union. So he's done this. So if your listeners and your viewers are interested, you can find his exposition of it as well.
Beautiful.
I'm going to take just a little in a different turn, because part of what we're realizing since the Second Vatican Council is that there's a renewed call to holiness that Christians and Catholics are called to. And I translate that into the ongoing transformation of the old humanity into the new humanity, which is Christ. And so we have liturgical feasts and seasons repeated over and over again until the transformation within us personally and communally happens. And so the 50 days of Easter can only be understood within the context of the 40 days of Lent. So some liturgical writers talk about the 90 days. Because they're sister seasons. And when you examine them even more from a phenomenological perspective, they're about the membership in the church being transformed, and the new membership that is part of those 90 days are the catechumens, the elect, who will gradually be baptized at the Easter Vigil, and then for 50 days savor the mysteries, which is called mystagogy, to savor and taste the mysteries of the new humanity. I went to the cathedral, Father Greg, I was at the cathedral for the rite of election that Cardinal Supich presided at, the first Sunday of Lent. And the church was filled
Right.
with these people
Packed.
who are part of the Easter season now, because as newly baptized and newly initiated Christians, Catholics, they are part of what we celebrate. That we celebrate that the risen Christ is risen among us in the newly baptized, confirmed, the newly initiated Christian disciples who have died with Christ in the waters of baptism. And now we're celebrating their new humanity with us. So the 50 days of Easter have to be understood as a time whereby the church intentionally talks about the value of Christian initiation and the value that it makes within our city, within our world. And it's 50 days of rejoicing. Now, the other thing it's called the Pentecost period. Pentecost means 50. And sometimes we think that Pentecost is just the 50th day, but really the great 50 days of Easter is the great Pentecost. And that's the period where we believe that the Spirit is renewing the face of the earth, through us, as we, the body of Christ, are renewed in that Spirit to make a difference in the world.
But you know, Richard, that you look at the lives of people, I like your connection, the 40 days of Lent, 50 days of Easter season. I always also say this, Lent provides speed bumps in our daily lives to slow us down.
Oh, nice.
The speed bump, I'll tell you, I've hit more than one speed bump where I didn't see it, thought the bottom of my car was going to fall out. So speed bumps are put on the road to purposely, you must slow down. If not, you pay a price and slam your car. And the thing is with Lent, it provides speed bumps in our daily lives to slow us down, to get us ready to move toward the Holy Week. But then, as you say, it's a continuous thread, Easter Sunday celebration, resurrection, new life. But now we begin the great season, the Easter season. But unfortunately, Richard, I think for many people, Easter, that Sunday, comes and goes, and now we get back to our normal life. In their mind, they have no concept what Easter season is all about as a continuation. I'm not slamming, but people get so caught up with their work, family, paying the bills, the struggles, marriages. So how do you help people understand that it's not just, because they come flocking for Easter Sunday, there's no question, but then there's a drop-off. And so how do you take the spirit of the Easter season into people's lives and say, folks, it's not just one day, there's a whole season attached to it.
In fact, there's a whole lifetime attached.
Yeah, exactly. A whole lifetime.
Because you see, the whole Eastering, or the whole mystagogy, the savoring of the mysteries, is the reality that we have been baptized, and in the Holy Spirit, in this Pentecost spirit, we are baptized as the body of Christ so that we can become the sacrament of the new humanity. And that's throughout all the liturgical seasons. It's called the Paschal Mystery. And through the whole liturgical year, we're basically celebrating the good news that our humanity as Christian believers, as Catholics, our humanity is to be gradually transformed into the living presence of Christ, the real living presence of Christ by the gift of the Holy Spirit. And so the Easter season, while it is a good, wonderful, formal 50 days of rejoicing in the new humanity that is given to us in the risen Christ, and in the catechumens, these neophytes, these newly baptized, the reality is that even we're celebrating Easter on Christmas Eve, and we're celebrating the Paschal mystery at every wedding, and we're celebrating the wonderful richness of the new humanity on the 32nd Sunday of Ordinary Time, or the feast of St. Athanasius, or during the month of May, so that the entire Christian life is the transformation that finds its focus in the 90 days, but really is what's going on at every moment of our lives.
Good point.
Well, excuse me, it's interesting because on my door at Holy Name, I had a door, now I don't have a door, but when I had the door,
We took the door off.
I had a quote from Second Vatican Council. I forget you would know the encyclical, but by our baptism, we are called to consecrate the world to Christ.
Yes,
and
that's correct.
Yeah, but that was a revelation for me.
Oh yes, because there's sometimes a thought that we are Christians, that we are an Easter people, and Alleluia is our song, if you want to use Augustine. That we're just because we're here to get through this life, to go to the next life. But the Easter proclamation is that Christ has conquered death by death, and we, Romans 6, through baptism and Eucharist and the Spirit, we're already living in the life to come.
You know, Richard, along those very lines, here's a great story before we go to break, and that is a story of a young man searches all of Europe for the holy man. He finds him, knocks on his door, the holy man lets him in, and the young man looks around and notices for the holy man, all he has is a desk, a bed, a chair, and many, many books. And the young man asks the holy man, he says, "Where's all your furniture?" And the holy man asks the young man, he says, "Well, where's yours?" And the young man says, "I'm only a visitor, I'm only passing through." And the holy man says, "So am I."
Yeah.
So am I.
That's correct.
In this life, we're only passing through.
Yeah, they would call it the
people.
pilgrim people. That was another theme of the Second Vatican Council. But while we're pilgrims here, we're not just visitors to the planet. We also are called to engage this world because the kingdom of God is already in our midst. At the same time, this is I would say the irony or the paradox, that's a better word. The paradox of the Christian experience is that it's Easter all the time, and then for 50 days we celebrate Easter. And it's Lent all the time, and for 40 days we celebrate Lent. And we're a pilgrim people, we're on our way, and yet the kingdom of heaven is already here in our midst. This is the great paradox of the richness of this season of Christianity, of the Eucharist.
Yeah,
and
very
maybe
well
that's
said.
moving people to that aha moment where
Exactly. Take us to break, Mark.
WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago with Father Richard Fragomeni. When we come back, maybe, Richard, we could talk a little bit about the parish and how that, being the rector at Our Lady of Pompeii, how has that impacted your priestly ministry and how you see the church? We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
People always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning. Because really, you are changing lives, you are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
We're back. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago with Father Richard Fragomeni. Before the break, I had said, you're the rector of the Shrine of Our Lady of Pompeii, included with all your other responsibilities. How has that responsibility impacted not only your understanding of liturgy, scripture, etc., but just your priesthood?
Yes. Well, first of all, you're correct. This is a shrine. It was formerly a national Italian parish, formerly. It was, the word it was used is demoted. It was demoted as a parish way back in 1990. And then in 1994, Cardinal Bernardine, at the request of the Italian community, it became a shrine. And then I took over as the rector in 2006, I believe it, as Father Jack Wall was the rector initially. Mm-hmm. But the hesitation on my part is that I wanted to be a professor, and I didn't want to be split over my time. But then gradually, when I started helping out as the vice rector, the spiritual director, I realized that this was truly no longer a parish. We had no catechesis for children. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a school. We didn't do confirmations. We didn't have parish programs. Mm-hmm. But we had devotional programs to Mary. And what I began to see is that we were honoring Mary, and at the same time, we were honoring the Italian heritage. So a shrine usually is a place that God only makes. God only makes shrines, like the miracle at Lourdes, or an apparition of Mary in Fatima, or the shrines in the Holy Land, where there are so much that goes on. But we enshrine the Italian heritage of the that's the crown that we'll crown Mary with this Sunday. And behind there you can see, and there's me, a much younger me, and one of the Easter seasons. That's a cave that we did. That's our rare dose in the back. But the point is that what it's done for me, it's enriched me, because I no longer just teach, but I no longer just teach sacramental theology and liturgy and preaching, but I'm actually doing it, and I bring our students to do it with us. Mm-hmm. These are some of the children for the crowning of Mary that we had. So what we do is we maintain the Italian-American devotional and faith tradition from the Italian-American tradition of the neighborhood. And that's what we enshrine in this little shrine. And then, like we say, like a good Italian restaurant, all people of faith are welcomed here. And it's dedicated to Mary and the mysteries of the Rosary, the 20 mysteries of the Rosary. These are lovely little pictures. I don't know what year. These are from different years, I think, for the first Sunday of May, which will come up, which will have already happened when this is video or this is viewed. So it's enriched me as a priest, as a presbyter. It's enriched me as a professor, but I would say even more, it's enriched me as a human being, because we went through the Renew My Church process with the other parishes, and in our little grouping, we had the Newman Center, which is again a unique ministry, and we had the Shrine, which is a unique ministry. That's not, both of them are not primarily parochial. And I realized that if I had just been a professor, I would have missed out on the day-to-day engagement with people and programmatically with an Italian community, with all its shadow and its shine, to realize that you can't just talk about it. You also got to do it. So it's enriched me as a priest, as a professor, and as a person, the 3 Ps, if you will.
And I'm sure Richard, being at the shrine has made you, as you just mentioned, a better preacher, better priest, better human being, because you can feed off of people where people have touched, as a brother priest, our lives in ways we never imagined. If we just switch gears a little bit, because this is the month of May, is question I have is, why is Mary always connected with the month of May and the month of October? Of course, Mary's year-round, but people always associate Blessed Mary connecting heavily with May and October. Why?
Certainly, October is easy. October has been named the month of the Rosary, of Mary, because of the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary on the 7th of October, which is the feast of Our Lady of Pompeii, who is Our Lady of the Rosary. And so October is basically a rosary month. But May, because here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the beginning of flowers and springtime, and even though the name May sounds a lot like Mary, and it was in the Roman religions a time of the renewal of the earth, of the spring. Mary gets associated because she's kind of like the flower. She's the lily of the valley. She is the rose of Judah. She is the beginning of salvation, because it is through Mary that that we have the gift of Jesus Christ. And so this month because it's a floral month, and it's blossoming, and I think also it's connected to the Easter season. It's a time when we see that the church, and Mary as the mother of the church, Mary who is with us at Pentecost, Mary who continues to abide in the church through what we believe is her assumption, and that she's a living body and spirit in the new era, in the new age, in the new time and space, and yet nevertheless is with us. I mean, I do think it's because it's such a beautiful month, and Christians have associated that with Mary, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, it may not be as lovely. I think it's the rainy seasons or winter in the seasons. But so Mary, and her the doctrines about Mary, the 4 doctrines that we have. You know, her perpetual virginity, her immaculate conception, her assumption, and that she is the Theotokos, the mother of God. These are doctrines that engage us in what I was talking about earlier, in the new humanity. Because we, as the church, are also called to a place where we live in the joyful hope of the resurrection from the dead. We also live in the mission of giving birth to Christ by our lives in our communities, at our shrines, whatever ecclesial communities there are that we're part of, that our lives are immaculately conceived in baptism, or we can say reconceived in baptism and confirmation and the Eucharist, so that Mary is mother of the church. And Pope Francis actually has made a new memorial feast of Mary on the day after Pentecost, which will be in the month of May. And it's Mary, mother of the church.
Now, can I ask?
I also think that what we're engaged with Mary is we're engaged with the divine, the feminine face of God, if you would. And this takes a much longer time than we have to talk about this. But when I was a kid, Jesus was perceived as somebody that's very dangerous. You have to be careful because he's a judge and he's going to come and get you. And even Michelangelo's Last Judgment, he has the Christ has his hand up, kind of condemning the dead. And then you see Mary holding back his arm, you know. Well, that's all shifted. And I remember Sister Euphrasia told us during the month of May, we had to go to Mary through the back door of the kitchen, because if we didn't, if St. Peter and Christ would not allow us into heaven, Mary would allow us into heaven. And we had this wonderful devotion to the scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, which if we wore it, the idea was that Mary would be there to assist us in our dying hour, because she would give us the necessary encouragement to go beyond simply the punishments of hell into the promise of heaven.
And get us into the back door. On that note, take us to break, Mark.
WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago. You go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Richard, when we come back, I'd be fascinated to hear you teach students from all over the world, maybe some Mary devotions that you've learned from them that are unique and that we can learn from. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
I can't imagine myself going into any other school.
Our school fosters growth by being a backbone to our family.
My kids are incredibly well-rounded. I see a lot of kindness in them on a daily basis.
One of the things I think Catholic schools do well is personalize the learning experience. You can hear joy in the classrooms.
I feel that I'm happy that I am in this kind of school.
Our school communities provide students with academic excellence and character education in a supportive and stable learning environment. Come see for yourself. Visit archchicago.org/findaschool.
Community is core to Catholic Charity's founding mission. For more than 100 years, we have met people and families where they are, serving anyone in need, regardless of their faith, gender, race, or ethnicity. As our world absorbs the economic, political, and social aftershocks of the pandemic, 50% or more of the 6 million people living in Cook and Lake counties have little or no savings. They are a paycheck away from zero. We are deeply grateful to everyone in the Catholic Charities community who partners with us to alleviate the suffering of the people we serve and offer them a better path forward. We are witnessing a message of mercy and hope to a world very much in need. Learn more at CatholicCharities.net.
I am a seminarian.
The Church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
We're back, WNDZ, 7:50 a.m., Catholic Chicago. You can go to youtube.com/CatholicChicago. Our guest this morning is Father Richard Fragomeni. We've talked a lot about sacrament, Easter. We're talking about Mary. And as a professor at Catholic Theological Union, you had said earlier in the program, you know, there are students studying from all around the world. What have you learned in terms of Marian devotions from them that might be either surprising to us or maybe
surprising to you?
Yeah, surprising to you.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with Guadalupe.
Okay, good.
We have many students from Mexico, and certainly there are many people, parishioners in our parishes from Mexico who honor Our Lady of Guadalupe. But the students I get to know firsthand, and I get to explore with them as future priests and ministers what this devotion to Mary is all about. And so one of the things that I've seen devotion-wise is that there is this physical part of devotion. It's not just simply saying prayers. It's walking on their knees to the statues, to the tilma, to the image of Mary. It's fasting. It's also walking backwards that you see from the image of Mary. So it's a very incarnational piece. That devotion is not just simply a talk piece. It's carrying fire, going to Guadalupe, to Mexico City, to pick up fire on the feast day and bring the fire back to their home villages. So it's pilgrimages that they talk about, and this is not just pilgrimages in Mexico, but we have students from Croatia and Medjugorje, and the way pilgrimage works. We don't really have a lot of that here in the United States, because we don't have any real shrines. We have national shrines that have been named, but as I said earlier, I think only God makes shrines. The closest shrine that I think that we have is the one in Wisconsin, Our Lady of Good Hope. There is a shrine there that the bishop named because there was the bishop has declared that there was an apparition in the 19th century. So people are going there. I know I serve as a chaplain for the Knights of Malta, That's what this little badge is.
Mm-hmm.
And as a chaplain for the Knights, they go up there every August. We go up on a pilgrimage, but it's physical. So that's one of the things I'm learning. The other things I'm learning, along with the physical, is they're very much interested in relics of the saints, and also relics of Mary. So, for instance, this. How can I do this? I can't.
Right there. Stop
right there.
right there.
Just cover your face.
This relic is a piece of the veil of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Now, relics are tangible as well, and people go on pilgrimage to these relics. And the relic of the veil of the Virgin Mary comes from Chartres, from France. And there are all kinds of pilgrimages from Paris down to Chartres to visit and to do this. Now, the question is, why do all these devotions to Mary are so physical? Because there is I believe, a hope and a belief that making a visit to Mary will bring comfort and consolation and encouragement and strength. Even at the Shrine of Our Lady of Pompeii, we have a pilgrimage in October because of the Rosary Month for parents who have lost their children.
Oh, wow.
Because Mary lost her child on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, Mary becomes the human face, the human face of our human face, and of a woman of great faith, if you would, a disciple of Christ. She becomes the new Eve, we say. And we turn to Mary with these devotions, the Vietnamese. And because what I've learned is that every country has their Mary.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's Our Lady of Vietnam, and there's a shrine there. There's Our Lady of Knock in Ireland, and there's Our Lady of the Tears in Sicily, where the image weeps. And in fact, I have a relic of the tears, because at the shrine here of Our Lady of Pompeii, we have a vast treasury of relics of saints that we will be putting on display when we redo the church, because the goal is we're by the end of 2025, which will be the 100th anniversary of the church building of the shrine, will be renovated, and there'll be a relic altar, and every month we'll put out relics of the various saints for people to come and enjoy, really, and to pray to, and to find comfort. But why? The answer is so that we can become like Mary, so that we can become the new humanity.
Richard, how many people visit the shrine every year? Roughly.
This shrine here?
Yeah, Our Lady of Pompeii.
Our Lady of Pompeii?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have several shrines of Mary in this archdiocese, which has always been my hope of networking all the shrines together. This shrine, you might, I don't know, maybe 10,000 people in a year will come to this. But you get the shrine, there's a shrine, but that functions as a parish in the archdiocese of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe, but it functions as a parish. It has First Communion, it has catechism, and it's that's thousands.
Is that Dominican? Is that run by Dominicans?
No. That's run by the archdiocese.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
It's an archdiocesan priest. That's the rector/pastor.
That's Father Zeke Sanchez.
No,
that's correct.
I thought you're talking about Guadalupe. You're talking about Maryville.
Yeah, I'm talking about Maryville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Maryville.
No, he's talking about Guadalupe.
Oh, Guadalupe.
I'm talking about Our Lady, the Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Okay, gotcha. That's the other one. I had the two confused here.
Maryville is the one out in Libertyville, isn't that correct?
It's in Des Plaines.
Des Plaines, right.
That would be in Des Plaines. In Des Plaines off of River Road. In just the last 2 minutes, Richard, and that is kind of a different type of question. What is the greatest myth about Mary that you're always trying to correct? people, is there something out there about Mary that you would say, no, that is not true, that just comes up over and over again? I'm thinking of one in my own life that when I talk to people.
What is that?
It would be this. Mary, sometimes people perceive Mary as being weak and docile and timid. In many ways, she's the exact opposite. Mary, a woman of profound strength, faith, and courage, she watched her son go to the cross and die. It had to be horrific. I say no parent should ever bury a child. We bury parents at a ripe old age. And so I think sometimes people have Mary as an image of being so timid and docile and quiet. I find Mary to be the exact opposite. Woman of profound faith and strength. And how about maybe in your almost 50 years of priesthood, is there sometimes a myth you try to clarify with people that Mary is not?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the perception sometimes is the way that Mary is presented, even our statuary. You know, she's there with swords in her heart, and she looks weak and she looks oppressed, and certainly we can get into the whole question of the role that Mary has played for our understanding of the role of women in society, and women as weak or uncourageous. And so I think that is shifting. I think we're beginning to see Mary as our sister, Mary as a courageous missionary, Mary as one who stood confident, the first disciple, Mary as the first disciple of the discipleship of Christ, you know. And I do that, Greg. Father Greg. That's beautiful what you just said.
Yeah, my experience. And any closing thoughts in the last 30 seconds, Richard? We'd have talked for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, this is wonderful.
And not run out of stuff to say. But in the last few seconds, regarding the Easter season, regarding Mary, any closing 20-second thought?
I pray that Mary becomes for us a source of inspiration and grace, and a source of power, that we become like Mary. We become a new humanity, because the old humanity is very strong right now in our world, with war and violence in our cities, and the hatred and the bigotries. That's the old humanity. And Easter celebrates the new humanity, and at the center of the new humanity is Mary. May she become for us an inspiration to be the bearers of Christ.
Amen on that thought. I want to thank in a very special way Father Richard Fragomeni, the rector of our Shrine of Our Lady of Pompeii, also professor at CTU. And Richard, you are a tremendous gift to the Archdiocese of Chicago and beyond. Continued blessings for your great work that you do and your enthusiasm and joy. Special thanks to co-host Mark Teresi, always great being with you, Mark. And with our engineer producers, Michael May, Clint Cottrell, great job, gentlemen. To all of you, God bless all of you, and have a very blessed week.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.